Hello everybody, welcome to Heart to Heart. Lovely to have you with me, boys and girls. Tama and Kotiro, so glad you could join me today. We've got some very interesting learning today to do together. Have you ever heard about mudskippers? Because that's what our story is going to be about today. Now, mudskippers are such interesting creatures. I'll show you a picture of one so you can know what I'm talking about, okay? These are mudskippers. Now, mudskippers are real creatures. They're amphibious. Can you say that word? It's a big word, amphibious. So amphibious means that they can live both in the sea and they can walk on the land too. They're known as the walking fish, which is pretty clever, isn't it? So how they're able to do that, they've developed eyes, they've got protruding eyes on top of their heads, and that's to allow them, they've adapted, which means they've kind of changed over time, and they've learnt to have the eyes on top of their head. Their bodies developed as they've had more and more babies, their bodies have developed so they can see on the land too, because other fish, you see fish in the sea, don't they? And those they have their eyes on the side of their head, the amphibious, because they're amphibious fish, they have the protruding eyes so they can see. And did you know, so they're known as the walking fish, they can even do like acrobats, which is pretty clever, eh? They can even do like jumping, and they can jump up to 2 feet in the air. So that'd be pretty amazing to be able to watch them, eh? So when you go and do your exploring, when you're at the beach and you're at the river estuaries, you go and do your exploring in the little mud pools and the rock pools and the mud flats, have a look for little mudskippers, because you should be able to see them. They're very cool creatures, and they'll be really interesting to watch too, eh? So they've got the pectoral fins, which is underneath there. They've got those fins underneath their body, in the front of their body, and they use those for like walking for legs. And then they've got the pelvic fins, which are on their back, and those they've also got like a little sucking thing in them too, and so they can use those when they can climb little trees or low branches, and that helps them to be able to stay on too. Very, very clever, eh? And that what they eat, part of their diet, what do you think they eat? That's right, they eat small fish. They also eat insects and crustaceans, which are little insects found in the sea, like shrimps as well. Yeah, so it's pretty clever. And worms, they like to eat worms too. Okay, so shall we read the story now of Merton? This is called Merton the Mudskipper. And it's by Sally Hopgard, and it's by Tracy Tucker. Okay, so you have a look for them when you're out exploring, and they're sort of brownish and green in colour, and mud flippers. Okay, let's have a look and see what our story's about. Are you ready to listen? Whakaronga mai. Listen to me and open up your ears, your taringa. Okay, let's get started, guys. Now, this story is by Sally Hopgood and by Tracy Tucker. So that's pretty clever of those two ladies, isn't it, to teach us all about mud flippers. Okay, so here we go. Of all the strange fish in the sea, Merton was one of the strangest. His eyes were sat on the very top of his head, and his mouth was on the top of his chin. Can you see Merton there? Because he was different of all the other fish, they would tease him, Merton, and call him names. Oh, that's a bit sad. Hi, you see where Merton is? I'll bring this up closer. Can you see? There he is. How do you think he felt when they teased him? Do you think he liked it when they teased him and called him names? No, that perhaps made him feel a little bit sad, eh? Because he was different from the other fish, not the same. But it's okay to be different, isn't it? Because everybody's a little bit different. Okay, so let's see what happens. To escape the teasing, Merton would swim away up to the surface, and here he discovered that having eyes on top of your head could be very useful. For instance, he could watch the hungry seabirds without him noticing them. See, look, he's watching what's going on top of the sea. So he's learned to go from the bottom of the sea to come to the top and take a breath. And that's perhaps how he's adapted to learning how to breathe on land. Right. And he could watch the crabs scuttling about on the shore. But today Merton could see a big smoke belching monster coming towards him. Oh, I wonder what that is. See what's coming towards him? Like a big boat. Oh dear, I hope it's not polluting, polluting the oceans and sea with its big smoke. Let's see what's going to happen. Polluting means it might have some dirty smoke and things, which won't be good for the creatures of the sea. Let's see, but Merton called out to the other fish, "Flee, flee, swim away!" But they just laughed at him. Swoosh! And then all of the fish disappeared, except Merton. What's happening to the fish? Can you see what's getting down there? It's a big net. Can you see the big net? All the fish are caught in the big net. Which is a bit sad, isn't it? And sometimes they put those big fishing nets right on the bottom of the ocean, and they scrape up all the fish and all the coral, and they take a whole lot of them at once, which is a bit mean, isn't it? Don't know if they leave many fish left. And they take all the beautiful coral. Not good for the sea, is it? Or for the creatures. But luckily Merton knew what was happening before, so he could escape. Oh dear. But Merton swam and swam and swam until he could swim no further. And exhausted, he lay in the warm shallows. And despite feeling a bit scared still, he fell fast asleep. You see Merton there? He's sleeping in the warm shadows. After all that swimming, he was a bit tired. Bit nyingy, tired, exhausted. Exhausted means when you're extra tired, very, very tired from perhaps working hard, or like Merton from swimming lots. So sometime later, Merton woke with a start. "Where has the water gone? I can't breathe," he gasped. "This way, quick," said a little crab, waving his pincers about. He's waving his pincers. With several skips, Merton followed the crab, and he jumped into a small pool of water. See, he's just not even thinking about it. He's quickly doing jumping into the pool of water. "Oh, thank you so much," said Merton to the crab, whose name was Christoph. Do you know a Christoph, guys, in your life? I wonder if you do. I haven't heard the name Christoph before, but some of you might know a Christoph. And that was the crab's name. But Christoph explains that sometimes when the sea goes out, it comes back in again. Twice every day it does that. So that's the tide coming in, when you get all the waves come into shore and then they wash out again. The tide going out, and they do that twice a day. "How will I survive until it comes back?" asked Merton. As a small pool started to dry up, luckily Christoph, his new friend, the crab, had a plan. So he was doing some thinking. He had a plan how to help his friend, because he was, at that stage, his friend wasn't used to being on the land. He was just used to being in the water. So he was like, "Oh, what am I going to do?" "I'll dig you some new pools as I feed on the mud flaps," said Christoph. Because the crabs like also going in the rock pools, don't they, guys? You'll see those when you're doing your exploring. "You can skip from pool to pool until the sea comes back." So he's going to help him, So hopping from pool to pool soon turned into a game. And Merton's skips and jumps became very elaborate. And he did somersaults, which impressed all of the crabs nearby, and they enjoyed watching Merton skip and hop and twist around. Can you see him? That's pretty clever, isn't it? The Mudskippers are very clever at their jumping. It's like watching a show, all the crabs were doing. Okay. Right, so soon the sea was back again. Merton waved goodbye. "Kakiti," he said to his friends. His new friend, "I'll come back and visit soon," he called out. Look at that. There's his friend. They're happy that they've made friends, And that's what happens often if you help people and you're kind to people, or creatures. Creatures help each other and they're kind. Like the crab. Christoph helped Merton. That's how you make friends too, isn't it? You be helpful to people. That night, Merton soon discovered, though, that the sea had changed. There were very few left. The coral was destroyed after that horrible big boat came by with all the nets. And the dark, menacing shadows circled over the reef. Oh, I wouldn't want to be in there, would you guys? Not with all those sharks. The hammerhead sharks, see? Those look like they're the big great white sharks. I don't want to be here. I don't like it here, said Merton. This was much nicer with my friend Christoph on the shore. Look at that. His head gone black after the big storm and all the fish being swept up in the nets. So the following morning, Merton swam to the shore again, and Christoph this time taught him how to breathe out of the water. It took Merton a long time to learn the trick, but after lots of practice he could stay out of the sea for many hours. Look at that, he's learning to take deep breaths with his mouth and fill up his gill chambers, which help him to be able to breathe. Because when he's in the water, do you remember he has his wet skin helps him to be able to breathe. He can breathe through his wet skin like fish can. And then when he's out of the water, he breathes in through his mouth, through his gill chambers. So it's a bit like lungs too, eh? So shall we take a deep breath and fill up our lungs, which are a bit like balloons in our body? Go, and then let them out. Exhale. So we're filling up our lungs with air and exhaling for our mouth and through our nose. And that's what Merton was learning how to do, to breathe on land. Look at that. And it looks like Christoph was into doing some painting. That's funny, eh? What a beautiful place they live. That looks like a beautiful little bay they've got there. Hey, guys. Beautiful little bay. There was no reason to go back into the scary sea. Not now. Merton and Christoph spent their days playing together on the mud flaps and the mud. See you tomorrow, mate wa, until we meet again. Merton even built his home next to Christoph. Oh. And there, look, there's Merton. It looks like he's had a family, a whānau. You see that? All his little babies, and that's how they lay their eggs. Mudskippers, if they want to lay their eggs, they dig burrows in the mud and then they lay their eggs there. Okay, as time passed, other mudskippers joined Merton on the mud flaps, and he taught them all how to breathe air, and that's how they became amphibious. Merton had learned that it is good to be different. And best of all, Merton loved his new friends and his home on the mud flaps. Hi, I hope you enjoyed that story. What a cool story. I hope you enjoyed the story, and they're learning all about mud flippers. Exciting, isn't it, guys? All the different interesting creatures we have in the world. And what Merton learnt too is a really important lesson, that it's okay to be different. He wasn't like the other fish, but that's because he had a special purpose, to be amphibious, that he can be on the land too and breathe air like the other fish couldn't do, but he could because he was different. So we're all different and have different things, so we can learn different skills and do different things. That's cool. Okay, well, thank you for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed the story. Okay, well, you take care, and next time we're going to do play our animal sounds game. If you listened to part 1, or if you haven't listened, you can go back and listen on the heart to heart videos when you're ready, all about all sorts of different animal sounds. But this time next time we're going to do different animal sounds part 2, because we did up to 15 different animals, and now we're going to do another 15 different ones. And in that one we've got lions, and we've also got a wolf, which makes a beautiful howling sound, and lots of other really amazing creatures, and horse neighing loudly. Okay, guys, well, you take care. If it's the beginning of the day, remember, have a lovely day and be kind to people and try and be helpful, and then you can make lots of friends like Merton and Christoph were. Okay, and if it's nighttime, cuddle up nicely and have sweet dreams. Okay, thanks for listening. Goodbye. Mate wa.